Everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Belgian Grand Prix race notebook. Now, we were gathering for the photos. Here we go, here's the McLaren photo, which I think I've just missed. Have I just missed it? Sorry. Paul Lando taking a little interview over there. And we're gathering because we're allowed in, so normally we're not allowed in the pit lane after the race. You here, Kieran? Over here. So we're gathering for the Mercedes photo to do the notebook, and then we get a missive from the FIA to say that George Russell has failed a weight check on his car. Now I'm going to read it to you because after brilliantly winning the Belgian Grand Prix with a one-stop and doing something differently when everybody had a bit of confirmation bias that the only way to do the Belgian Grand Prix, because the tyre degradation was to two-stop, and because it was easy to overtake, the two-stoppers would inevitably overtake the one-stoppers if anyone tried to do a one-stop. Both of those things were proved to be wrong today, and that meant that George Russell, who was about to be undercut by Max Verstappen, so he wouldn't have won the race. Well, he would have, had he stayed on the two-stop, he would have finished fifth. The only thing he could do was one stop and then see it out to the end. And he brilliantly defended from Lewis Hamilton and won the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton, as Toto Wolff said, Lewis Hamilton also deserved to win the Grand Prix because he was fastest. He was fastest as for the largest part of the race for the first two stints. Anyway, so all that happens, and we get the team, which are already coming out here for a photo. All the photographers are out here. We've got people from Formula One. We've got Kim, who I don't know whether it's Kim-pressed or not, or uncompressed with the news, that he's looking at exactly the same news I'm looking at here.
What do you reckon?
Well, I'm reckon, I will tell you, Kim, because we have it here. Technical Delegates Report, Belgian Grand Prix, 17:50, so 10 minutes before we came on air. After the race, car number 63, that's George Russell, if you weren't already aware, was weighed, and his weight was 798.0 kilograms, which is the minimum weight required by technical directive, or the technical regulations, Article 4.1. After this, fuel was drained out of the car, and 2.8 litres of fuel were removed. The car was not fully drained, according to the draining procedure submitted by the team in their legality documents, as technical regulation Article 6.5.2 is fulfilled. The car was weighed again on the FIA inside and outside scales. Oh, I see, that makes sense. But it was weighed again on the FIA scales, both inside and outside, and the weight was 796.5. Okay, so that's under. That's obviously a couple of kilos under, well, 1.5 kilos under. The calibration, just to check the calibration of the scales, the calibration of the outside and inside scales was confirmed and witnessed by the competitor. So Mercedes are happy that the FIA scales are legit and kosher and that they are calibrated correctly. It's very rare for them not to be, but they have to check that. The technical delegates report continues. As this is 1.5 kilos below the minimum weight requested in technical regulations Article 4.1, which also has to be respected at all times during the competition, I'm referring this matter to the stewards for their consideration. So two things here. First of all, it's not enough to be on the weight limit of 798. You need to be able to give a fuel sample and then still be on or above the weight limit. When you take the fuel sample out and you're under the weight limit, I'm afraid to say, Mercedes, that's illegal and you're going to be disqualified. Now, all right, that's taking it a bit far, but the truth of the matter is that I don't see how Mercedes can justify this because, well, it almost goes back to the using fuel as ballast. Because if you are saying that at various points when you've used the fuel throughout the race, obviously this happened when cars were able to refuel, but if you were able to run the race at some point below the weight limit while going around, you're using fuel as ballast effectively, then you're not allowed to do that, and that people have been thrown out for crimes like that in the past. My excellent colleague Albert Fabrega from Spanish TV, my fellow pit lane dweller, is alongside me, and I'm just explaining, Albert, that it doesn't matter if you're on the weight limit with 7.9. It's measured after the weight limit, after the fuel sample is given. 2.8 litres, to be fair to them, is quite a lot. Yep. They normally only take a litre out, yep. But even then, he would still be half a kilogram underweight.
Yeah, and that's normally this kind of situations is black or white. There is no grey areas, and yeah, the decision will be taken soon, unless there is something Mercedes that can argue to the FIA. But these kind of decisions are very clear. There's not many things to fight on this.
No.
I guess.
I know. No. I guess. I mean, I don't see how you could argue against it, really.
Unless he lost some parts of the car during the race, but I don't think so, because the speed was there.
Well, he used those tyres so much, he could argue there was so much rubber disappeared off four tyres.
I don't think it's.
There was never any contact. There was never any bits falling off.
Yep.
Anything there?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just said a moment ago that I think it's going to be extremely difficult to defend. Let's see if we can actually see the car being weighed. So of course we have some extremely interested mechanics down here, because it will adjust the order. It won't adjust the constructors winner of the Belgian Grand Prix, because that would be Lewis Hamilton. So after Lewis Hamilton, thinking that he was a bit miffed to have been overcut really by his teammate, and being a bit miffed generally afterwards, I think Lewis Hamilton's going to end up winning the race. So there is car number 44. That's past all the weight limits. There he is, 63. It's just coming off the scales again. So they've weighed it again. Who was in there? So that's two members of the FIA technical department, and I'm half expecting Andrew Shovlin or Ron Meadows or somebody to be coming out of that FIA weigh scales with a piece of paper and a face like a wet Monday, because they're about to be disqualified, unless they can come up with a kind of excuse that none of us can really fathom. I'll tell you what happened. I know it seems trite at this point and pointless, but I will tell you what happened. Why is the safety car being rolled out? They're not going to weigh that now, are they? There's no point weighing that. It's just getting out of the way. So let me tell you what happened with Mercedes. Great start from Lewis Hamilton, up one place to P2. Thought he had contact early on, but didn't. Was told to lift and coast, so was probably minding some weight, some fuel details. But George Russell pitted on lap 11. Lewis Hamilton pitted lap 12. So George actually pitted before Lewis, and then one stop to the end. Lewis held a good gap to Leclerc, and pitted after a lap after Charles Leclerc, and kept the lead. So Lewis was always going to do a two-stop today. So if Lewis was thinking of saying, well, I kind of fancied a one-stop myself, that's not what we saw as the race played out. It looked like he was always going to do a two-stop, and indeed he did Lewis Hamilton. Then he went... He pitted after a lap after Charles Leclerc, kept the lead, but George suggested the one stop after Max Verstappen stopped before him was going to undercut him. He was happy to go along. The engineers were too, and the two Mercedes fought each other as Oscar Piastri closed up behind. Great job by George Russell to finish 0.5 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. But as if we found out now that George Russell did not do enough lifting and coasting, as clearly Lewis Hamilton was doing early on, as we heard on the radio messages, and George Russell was racing with a lighter car than Lewis Hamilton, then that's it. Disqualified, he's going to be out. In a way, to keep the sporting credibility of Formula One, they've got to disqualify George, because you can't. If you're Lewis, you're thinking, well, hang on, I'm trying to close on this guy. He's got a lighter car than I have, all right, by half a kilo or whatever it is. Then that's not fair. And if it is that George, for whatever messed up, listen, nobody is suggesting, I'm not suggesting that Mercedes have done something trick here, right? This was a mess up. This is not a conspiracy, this is a mess up. Either George has not done enough lift and coasting, or they haven't put enough fuel in, or they've had a weird software thing where they've used more fuel than they thought. But I'm sorry, if you finish the race and you've got your car's 1.5 kilos under, even with quite a big, sizable fuel sample, then you're going to be disqualified. And to maintain the sporting integrity of Formula One, then you have to put your hands up and say that was a mistake, and that is fair enough. Such a shame But it will be, I believe, George Russell who will be disqualified. So I think Lewis Hamilton will have won the race today. But despite not being on the top step of the podium, I think Oscar Piastri will be second, and poor Charles Leclerc, who wasn't even on the podium today, will be third. Anyway, all right, well, listen, that's at the moment, as we are live, that's all I have to tell you. There is the car number 63 with his wheels off, so they've taken the tyres off. So are they now trying to argue that there was losing some weight on the wheels? Are they now weighing the wheels? Well, it looks like it. If the wheels quite literally have fallen off George Russell's car, then I guess they've got to weigh the tyres, haven't they, to see what's going on there. I mean, the drivers drive offline after the race to pick up rubber. I wonder if this is something about it. But because there wasn't a slowdown lap, there isn't a slowdown lap here at Spa, drivers can't drive around and pick up rubber and make sure they're above the weight limit. Because there isn't a slowdown lap here, they come straight back into the pits and stop the car. So would George, on a normal race, have been able to pick up 1.5 kilos worth of tyre pickup? That's an interesting question on a normal one, and that's what's put him over the limit here. Let's do Red Bull while we're here. And Max Verstappen was 5th today, damage limitation for him. Sergio Perez P8 and the fastest lap. I'll just ask Albert. Hey, Albert, do you think if we're at a normal circuit where George would have done a cool-down lap and he could have picked up rubber, he would have picked up 1.5 kilos of rubber, that on a normal circuit he would have picked up enough rubber on his tyres to still satisfy the weight limit?
That's a point, but not sure if the regulations can...
Because they're now weighing the tyres without the car.
And without the car, and maybe taking a new tyre and comparing the weight, but so maybe that extra weight can be added. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
If only it was Hungaroring with marbles all over the place. Yeah, he couldn't have. I'm not sure he could. Maybe he couldn't have picked up 1.5 kilos of marbles. Yeah. It's a terrible point, but tell me I'm.
It is. No. You are not. You are not. You have to have every single point in account. Huh? So it's a good point.
Well, there isn't a cool-down lap. There isn't a cool-down lap here in Spa. Okay, right. Let's do Red Bull and see where we are. Yeah, damage limitation for them. Max Verstappen already up 3 places to P8. Chased Lando Norris, couldn't get past, so pitted on lap 11 onto the medium tyre. Pitted again and pushed, but got 0.6 behind Charles Leclerc, that was it. I mean, with all these different winners, Oscar Piastri last week, George Russell this week, Lewis Hamilton this week, Max is still extending his championship lead. So damage limitation well and truly accomplished here at Red Bull Racing. Sergio Perez, that's all he could do really, just finish 0.6 of a second behind Charles Leclerc. Sergio Perez tried to draft Lewis Hamilton at the start, but couldn't, drop 1 place to P3. He wasn't quick after that. In fact, he wasn't really quick at any point in the race today, which is doesn't bode well for his future. Pitted again, did Sergio Perez on lap 22, and then for a third time, with a few laps to go, there was a free stop to Fernando Alonso, who he had a 30-second gap to, was a free stop, and that meant that he was able to stop and retain his position and get the fastest lap for an extra constructors point for Red Bull Racing. Let's do Ferrari, and then we'll take a... should we do Ferrari? Yeah, okay, well, I've done 13 minutes or so. Let's do Ferrari. Yeah, you can go down and see what they're doing, or just to pretend that you're in the photo and have a look at Ferrari. Sainz P7. What more could we do? Said Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc P4, but I believe that's going to be P3. Good start from Charles Leclerc. Survived the start and the run into turn 4 in P1. Leclerc got undercut with a slow stop, 3.4 seconds, such as a slow stop. Dropped 7 seconds behind Oscar Piastri and just finished there really after being overtaken. Sainz was a hard tyre starter. Went long to lap 20 onto the medium, thought about one stopping but didn't, stopped again. Not a bad result, finishing 9 seconds behind Lando Norris. And while we're talking about Lando Norris, tell you what, we will do McLaren, then take a break. Lando Norris P6, and off the track, off form, off the boil, off his usual chirpy self all weekend. it's not been a great weekend for Lando Norris. He went wide at turn 1 and lost loads of time, and that was his race ruined, really. That was his race absolutely done and dusted, because after that being P7 at the end of lap 1, he was never really going to retire. Losing 3 places on lap 1 was going to be tough from then on for Lando Norris. Oscar pitted first on lap 12. Lando went longer to P15 and rejoined behind Max Verstappen with a 5-lap tyre offset, closed but couldn't benefit fully from it and overtake Verstappen, then pitted before Oscar and rejoined behind Max Verstappen again. Oscar led in free air, said this McLaren is working really well in free air, so let's keep it. He overtook Leclerc, chased the Mercedes, but finished only 0.6 of a second behind Lewis Hamilton. Well done to the McLaren front jackman. I don't know if he's there, but he recovered a long pit stop. Rather, Oscar Piastri locked his brakes and went long in the pit box and clattered into the front jackman, who is leaving the race team and going back to a factory-based job at McLaren. So well done to him. He was patted on the back by the team for saving the situation and meaning that there was not too much time lost in that pit stop. Yeah, Lando is still in with a championship, but when you consider that Max Verstappen is finishing 5th today and Lando 6th, he's lost a few more points. Right, I think what's clear, come back to me, Kieran, quite quickly. What's clear is that Mercedes know that there is not going to be a photo because they've taken the trophies inside. They were sat here. Sorry, Kieran, I know they were here, and now they've taken them inside. So I think while the discussions continue, the trophies are now over there. Everybody's kind of in the back of the garage, where Toto was talking to his wife Susie and his son Jack after the race. Even you're not going to have a photo after your winner being disqualified, are you? So I think we can scrub the Mercedes party and photo. Whatever happens, we'll have more notebook in a bit. Hiya, welcome back to a, I'm sorry it's such a downer, race notebook from the 2024 Belgian Grand Prix. And as you rejoin us live, we're still really no closer to knowing, well, I'll tell you what, let's go and have a look again, shall we? I know I would need to talk about Aston Martin, and I will talk about Aston Martin and all the other teams. We're still no closer to knowing, look at that sign above Parc Fermé, Kieran, whether it is indeed George Russell with 3 race wins, or whether that will go down to 2, and it'll be Lewis Hamilton on 105 wins instead. The wheels have gone back onto George's car, and the FIA chaps in white shirts are now looking ever more glum. And still we don't see wherever any Mercedes people are. Probably in the steward's room, giving an argument. And hey, listen, there might be an argument that I haven't thought about why you can be 1.5 kilos underweight and still get away with it. But I'm the only, there's not many of us in the pit lane here who can think about what that argument might be. Right, okay, that's the latest. Not that it is really anything to tell you about, sorry about that, but obviously check. So Craig Slater will be all over this because we're getting towards the end of our time. So Sky Sports News are live here. So they will give you the result, and also check all of our social media channels on Twitter or X, whatever it's called nowadays, and Instagram, because we'll all have that for you once we go off air. Right, Aston Martin, although, spoiler alert, George is going to lose and get disqualified. George's going to lose the place and get disqualified. Sorry about spoiler alert. Right, Aston Martin. 2 points today, which is good. So well done, Aston Martin. Both one-stopped. Fernando Alonso P9, Lance Stroll P12. They ran okay early on. Fernando said the tyres are okay. Lance Stroll pitted for the first on lap 12. Then Fernando pitted on lap 13. Lance said we're slow on the straights. Fernando Alonso tried to go to the end on the hard tyre, which he did, as did Lance Stroll. But even though there was only 1 lap difference between when they stopped Stroll and Alonso, Stroll couldn't make it work for him. So Stroll got done by Daniel Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon and finished just ahead of Alex Albon. But Fernando Alonso, a brilliant drive to score 2 points for Aston Martin and 6 seconds behind Sergio Perez. Alpine. Can we find some Alpine mechanics? Here we go, there's some Alpine mechanics. Good. It's a bit weird doing a sort of mechanics notebook, but hey, needs must. And well done, Alpine, because he scored a point today, which is good. Ocon P10, Gasly P14. Bad start for Ocon, actually. Down 2 places to P11. Gasly pitted on lap 10. Ocon asked about the strategy, and his engineer said, I don't know, you have all the numbers. Sorry. Ocon was asked about the strategy, and Ocon said, I don't know, mate, you have all the numbers, you decide. And it sounded like Esteban wasn't very happy with the strategy, but he should be, because it worked. He pitted on lap 12, and then again a couple of 20 laps later, and chased down Daniel Ricciardo, and took P10, and the last point. A great result by them. Gasly, who was running more downforce, didn't work for him. He was being overtaken. He had too much wing on the car, and that Alpine engine isn't great anyway. In fact, it's the worst in Formula One. They admit it themselves. He was overtaken by everybody with more downforce. It wasn't the right way to go. Gasly only P14. Williams, they have not scored a point today. In fact, nowhere near it. Alex Albon P13, Logan Sargent P18. Alex Albon pitted to cover Nico Hülkenberg and Lance Stroll on the same lap, lap 9. That was too early. Ricciardo closed on Alex Albon, and Alex said, yeah, we're going to fall back here, but Ricciardo pitted instead. They struggled with the braking and the traction. Albon struggled with the braking and the traction. Logan finished down. Logan lost 2 places at the start. He two-stopped, but he lacked pace and finished 3 seconds ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. Daniel Ricciardo for RB. Can you find any RB mechanics down here? No, don't think so. Any update? What's going on in here now in the garage? No, they're all still looking quite glum, aren't they? I see the Drive to Survive cameras are in the other garage, Kieran. Yeah, they're going to have a good one on this, aren't they? Next February. Daniel Ricciardo gambled on soft tyre at the start, gave others a read, which gave others a read on the soft tyre. Didn't really work, though. Down 1 place to P14. Ricciardo pitted on lap 9. Yuki Tsunoda started on the medium and went to the hard. Tried to go to the end, but didn't work. Had to stop again. He was got done by... Sorry, Ricciardo was running P10. He chased Lance and got him, which put him... Sorry, Ricciardo was running P11, chased Lance and got him, which put him P10, but then got done by Esteban Ocon, which is really frustrating because Ricciardo, with a good strategy, well, not a great strategy, but an okay one, deserved the point today. Yuki was just nowhere. He said the car was so hard to drive today. Sauber and Bottas 16th. Zhou Guanyu was a DNF with hydraulic failure. Good start by Valtteri Bottas, up 1 place to P13, pitted on lap 12. Valtteri Bottas was P10, tried to go to the end, but pitted again on lap 36, which is neither fish nor fowl, and took himself completely out of contention. Zhou Guanyu was a hard tyre starter, but was losing power and hydraulics. The brakes went long, tried to carry on, but it was terminal and had to retire. Zhou is still not driving the same car as Valtteri Bottas. It has not got anywhere near the upgrades that Valtteri Bottas's car has. So bear that in mind when considering Zhou's extremely disappointing results recently. It is not Zhou's fault. He has not got the same car as Valtteri Bottas. Just got a couple of minutes left, so we'll do Haas and then reflect on Mercedes. Terrible start for Nico Hülkenberg. Ran P16 and P17 early on. Degradation was not too bad. Hülkenberg went first and pitted on lap 8, which was far too early. Magnussen stayed out long to lap 17, and then 1 stop from there, and that was the right way to go. Magnussen finished 15th, 2 seconds behind Pierre Gasly. Nico Hülkenberg was offered at the end, well, what can we do? We can go, oh, look, here's Joe Bauer, the FIA technical delegate. Well, we already know. Joe, thumbs up, thumbs down? No, we already know it's a thumbs down from him, because he's already given his technical delegate's report, which is emphatically a thumbs down. It's up to the stewards now to disqualify George Russell if indeed he is underweight. Joe Bauer is now telling all the mechanics they can have their cars back, so I think we're going to get some answers quite soon of all of this. But yeah. Magnussen stayed out long to lap 17. Hülkenberg pitted again. Hülkenberg, disappointed with the strategy, said, what else are we going to do? Which is ironic, given that Hülkenberg was the only one who did a long run on the hard tyre, which turned out to be the fairy tale lovely tyre today. So the only person with the information that he really needed going into the race was the person who had the worst strategy and finished last today, which is ironic. Right, we have to leave it here because we have completely run out of time. We need to get thrown out of the pit lane because, of course, all the cars are now going back. I don't think this Mercedes photo is going to happen because I believe they're about to get disqualified from the win, but they will still win the race with Lewis Hamilton. So we will say thank you very much for watching. Follow skysports.com/F1 for the latest news. Listen to our podcast over the summer break because that will still go. I'm not at the next race in Zandvoort on the 23rd, 24th and 25th of August, but the rest of the team are. The notebook will return at the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, so I'll see you in Monza. But have a great August, everybody. Have a great break, and we'll see you for more news. We're about to get run over by the race-winning car. We'll see you for more Formula One upsets for the second half of the season in August. Well done, Lewis Hamilton. Well done, George Russell, even though you didn't win, and well done, Mercedes. We waffled on enough here in Belgium. It's time to go. Bye-bye.